Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for investing your time with us on a Monday afternoon. My name is Taj, and I'm part of the early career team at Owens. I'm currently in HR development program, and this is my first rotation. Today, we have amazing representatives from our early career development programs with us. We also have Taylor today. She has completed her summer internship this year, and she'll be joining our HR development program next year. In this session, we'll be talking about work experiences and career progression opportunities our panelists have at OC, or any suggestions they may have for the students for fall recruiting. The second half of our time today will open up the floor to give you an opportunity to ask any questions that you may have been thinking about to help you navigate any upcoming opportunities at Owens Corning. And in case you have any questions, feel free to drop it in the chat or Q&A section. But before we dive into panel introductions, I want to talk a little bit about Owens Corning. Owens Corning is a global enterprise with 2020 sales of $7.1 billion. We have 19,000 employees and a presence in 33 countries. Our three market-leading businesses are roofing, insulation, and glass fiber composites. Each of our businesses is a world leader delivering a variety of insulation and roofing products to keep homes, commercial buildings, and the people in them safe and comfortable. We also produce the glass fiber in engineered composite materials that is used in everything from automobiles and bridges to wind energy and personal electronics. We are a company that's global in scope, but it's human in scale. At Owens Corning, everything we do is aimed at meeting the needs of our people, customers, and communities we serve, and applying our scientific expertise to uncover any new possibilities. For more information about our company, please visit our website, owenscorning.com. And now we'll take a few minutes for each of the panelists to briefly introduce themselves and tell us a little bit about where they are located, years of service at OC, their current role, educational background. And you all can come on video now. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name is SIFUENTES. I am a graduate of the HR development program. So I started off with Owens Corning in 2019. I went to Indiana University, where I received a master's in business administration with a focus in HR. My first rotation with the company was in Irving, Texas, at one of our roofing facilities. Once I finished my first rotation there, I transferred to Waxahachie, which is where I'm currently at for my second rotation, and then graduated into a permanent role here as the talent lead for the site.
Hi, everyone. My name is HOUDESHELL. I graduated from Miami University of Ohio in May of 2019. I am currently in the Finance and Accounting Leadership Program and am in my, like I said, third year. I started out OC actually doing the internship, had a great experience there and wanted to continue my full-time experience with OC, and have had roles at an insulation plant in Fairburn, Georgia, which was incredible. And then also composites, commercial finance. And now I'm back in manufacturing in our roofing business. So far, so good. Excited to be here.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Austin McDonald here. So I work in our IS department. I started with OC as an intern in 2013, then went into our developmental program before many roles. I won't even try listing them all here, but I've worked everywhere from our CRM system to deploying to 2,500 different employees globally, to working in our SAP ERP space and managing some of those projects. So a little of everything under the sun in the IS field, but I've been with OC now for about 9 years and loved every year of it.
Hello, everyone. My name is Taylor Walker, and I am currently studying human resources at the University of Toledo. And this past summer, I interned with Owens Corning on our inclusion and diversity team here at our world headquarters in Toledo. And I'm currently working part-time throughout my fall semester before I start full-time in our human resources development program come January.
Thank you, everyone, for introducing yourselves to our audience today. We'll kick off this conversation asking some questions that would help us draw out your work experiences. We would really want to know what made you decide to join a development program at OC in the first place. And for Taylor, for you specifically, it would be like after internship experience that you have decided to join us. So what would be the potential reasons for that?
I can start. So I decided to do our development program because I really enjoyed my internship this summer with the company, the culture, and I am working on the inclusion diversity team. So being able to align with the company's values made me really love who I worked for. So continuing that on and also being able to go through my rotations to come out a better HR professional is something that is very ideal in my career. And I know will get me to where I want to go with the company.
Thank you, Taylor. Anyone else who want to chime in?
I can. So I came, I was a career switcher, right? So I was a teacher for 6 years before I went back to graduate school. So I didn't have direct HR experience, and I actually only looked for HR rotational programs, right? I wanted a program where I could get a better idea of what being an HR professional looked like, right? So the idea of getting 3 distinct rotations really was something that I was drawn to, right? So the HR development program, one of the rotations is at a plant. You get some corporate rotations as well, and then a center of excellence rotation as well. And so being that I didn't have that direct HR experience, I wanted a rotational program. So Owens Corning rose to the top of my list.
Thank you, Lewis. Haley?
Yes, so I knew I wanted a rotational experience. I was a junior in college and I knew I liked finance, but I wasn't sure what kind of finance I wanted to get into. And Owens Corning has a big presence in Ohio. Me going to school near Cincinnati and being from the Columbus, Ohio area, I knew of Owens Corning, but they especially have a huge presence in Toledo. And as I've sort of navigated my way through the internship, getting to meet the people and knowing that I would have a vast majority of experiences at OC was just something that completely sold me. And obviously I've helped, the FALP has helped me narrow down what sort of finance functions I like and what I dislike and what I can take from roles into the next one. So.
Thank you. And Austin?
Yeah, so I'm going to sound very similar to everybody else here, but you know, coming out of college, I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. I wanted to work in the technology area, but I'm not a coder. I'm not a developer. I'm not somebody that's going to be a security type person. We definitely have those type of roles, but it was not a fit for me. So the developmental program was perfect for me to see 3 very vast different teams and really understand where my strengths played versus you know, things that I kind of wanted to stay a little bit farther away before I jumped into a more permanent position. So OC had that offering, and then when it came down to it, it was choosing a company, you know, for culture, and choosing the company that, you know, every single role, you know, everything you study for, everything you do, you don't know if that role is going to be there by the time that you start, and roles change, but you need to marry up to a company that, you know, matches your core beliefs and everything about what makes you you. So Owens Corning was that for me.
Thank you. Definitely for me, it was, as Louis said, like in HRDP program, DP, we get like experience in different HR domains. That's a huge plus when you're, you know, starting your career in any particular field. Thank you, everyone, for your responses. I think we already have 2 questions. The first being, are there any opportunities or options for international students? International students can definitely apply to our development programs, but unfortunately, we do not sponsor any visas. So you're open to apply, but OC would not be sponsoring any visa. So sorry about that. The next question is by Prerna Joshi, and that's, are there entry-level tech-related full-time opportunities available for visa sponsorship? It's same question. Sorry about that, Prerna. Unfortunately, we do not offer any sponsorships, but still, thank you for asking your questions. Our next question would be very generic. What do you love most about working at OC?
I can start. For me, it was the people. Like I said, I started my internship the summer before my senior year of college. And with how Miami's schedule runs, I was actually a week late into starting the internship. So I was really, really nervous that I was going to be behind schedule, behind everyone else in the internship, not going to know anyone. But it was really nice on my first day. Everyone from the Miami alum team came down and they greeted me at the door and walked me around and introduced me to other interns. And so it just put me right at ease. And that's something, that same mentality and mindset I found throughout the entirety of my internship, and I found with being in the FALP as well. Everyone around you wants to make sure you succeed. They're there to help, and they've all been in similar places in their careers, and they're there for you, and that's something I just absolutely love.
I can go next. I I was drawn to the fact that I really enjoyed the culture that I saw when I was recruiting from the company. Right, they spoke about inclusion and diversity, and in my interactions with the employees, I could tell that they meant it. Right, and so when I was recruiting, I knew that I had some personal family goals that I wanted to accomplish, one of which was to adopt a baby. That process is long and it takes a long time, and I can't move during that process. And so I spoke, about that to the recruiters, and they said, we can make it work, right? We like who you are and who you bring to work every day, and so we're going to work with you, right? And they've fulfilled their end of that bargain. Until now, right? Everything they said they would work with me on, they have, and I was able to successfully adopt a baby girl last year. So, that speaks volumes about the company culture and what they truly value. So,
First off, congratulations, Lewis, on the adoption. There's the things that bring you into OC, the things that you hear from job fairs and stuff, kind of the flashier stuff, the developmental programs, the cool stuff that bring you in, but the things that keep employees around are those things we've talked about: our I&D initiatives, our sustainability goals, our leadership teams. I lead our intern program for our IS team, and the amount of times our CIO is reaching out to me constantly to see how we can set up lunches or set up touch bases with our interns. And that leadership engagement, especially at an early career, is really what's going to help you grow from the minute that you get out of college. I mean, you learn everything in the classroom, but the minute that you get into a corporate type setting or whatever setting you're going to be in is completely different than what you've learned. And having those leadership, having those mentors there working with you side by side is really what keeps you going and keeps you growing.
Taylor, for you, it would be about your internship experience, I would say. And what was your favorite part of your internship experience?
Yeah, my favorite part and what I love the most about this company is how big it is, but also how everybody is at just a close reach as well. So I was able to visit 2 plants this summer, and that was in Fairburn, Georgia, and Atlanta, Georgia, as well as Medina, Ohio, which is outside of Cleveland. And the plant leaders were very welcoming, especially coming from a person who's never been in a manufacturing plant, very educational. Everybody, even though they're not enrolled headquarters, they wanted to help me with my project and push our I&D initiatives. I know everybody said that, so I'm not going to repeat it, but it is one of my favorites. But yeah, just how helpful everybody was for me. And they were miles away and states away, and they still wanted to see me succeed and invite me to their plant so I can see what how I&D looks like in the plants and just get more experience.
Thank you, Taylor, for sharing your experience. We have next question. This question is from James Edward. Thank you, James, for asking this question. What would be the best advice for interviewing with OC? So maybe all our panelists can share their own experience, like when they interviewed for OC, and any particular advice they would give today for the interview process.
So the big thing is, from a technical standpoint, I mean, like even probably other roles too, we're not going to come and grill you. We're not going to ask you to write code by hand. We're not going to ask you to hey, what's this you're doing in your course? We're understand you guys are college students. We're looking for situational awareness. So we'll ask you questions, such things as maybe, when did you take a risk in your life and how did you calculate that risk? And how do you determine if it worked out or not? Things along those lines. You're going to get those type of questions as an intern, and those are the type of things we're going to look for. Is we want to see how you STAR methodology, and if you look that up, that's what most people use for interviewing for intern type positions. But those are the type of questions you'll be usually receiving in a type of interview. And then the biggest thing for an interview for feedback is just make sure that you're, doing research on the company that you're interviewing with. It helps when you can have a back and forth conversation about, what does the culture look like and what does growth in this type of role look like.
Austin, you said everything I wanted to say. The only thing I would add is for us, we always look for what you're interested in as well. Finance, going into rotational program, you do get to experience a lot of different areas of finance, but we always like to make sure that your finance goals align with where we see our program in the next few years and where you see your future as well. So we always love honesty, open conversations, things like that.
Thank you, Haley. Lois, what advice would you give to our audience for interviewing?
Yeah, I always look for passion, right? Whether that's passion for the area that you're going into, or personal hobbies. Like, I want to know what excites you and what sort of motivates you, and how you're gonna translate that into the development program. So that's something that I look out for. But also, like Austin said, right, that STAR methodology, we're looking at behaviors, right? What behaviors are you going to display when you come into the program, right, at the company? Is whether that's leadership, whether that's, are you action oriented, right? Are you going out and being proactive and creating actions that lead to good results? So, those are some of the high level things that I look for when I'm interviewing candidates.
Thank you, Lois. And Taylor, for you, since you did your internship with us this year, what was your process, your interview process, and any advice based on your experience? You have converted your internship into full-time opportunity. If you want to talk about that process, what were you interviewed for, the qualities they were looking for?
Yeah, so I started my relationship with Owens Corning actually through a mock interview through my university, where I was able to speak to actual recruiters in the HRDP program and get tips and feedback on my interviewing skills. And then with that, I went to go see them at the job fair, where I was asked for an interview, and utilizing that STAR method. I can't say it more, that really, that's the best tip that we can give you, is utilizing that STAR method, and also showing my personality and the things that I'm passionate about, my future goals, where I wanted to see myself in 5 to 10 years, personally and career-wise. And then I did my internship. I did, I think, 2 interviews, and then I did my internship, and the decision process for being admitted into the HRDP program is based off of your project work that you've done the whole summer. So your internship is a long interview where and where you're basically it's the STAR method situations, and you're giving projects where you completing tasks to better help the outcomes for the company and improve some strategies. So yeah, my internship was a long interview.
Thank you, Taylor. I think we have a couple of more questions. So Daryl has asked us, like, in the software engineering career, do this company has any work from home jobs? Maybe Austin, I would direct this one to you.
Yep. Yeah. So we've definitely have a couple of different positions. Now, those are more full-time positions. So we don't usually have internships in that type of area. When it comes to our interns, we like to get them on site and be able to, get that face-to-face, get that growth of being able to stop by somebody's desk now pre-COVID. But in a normal situation, that's what we would like. We do have some full-time positions, but for the most part, for our software engineers and such, we usually outsource some of that stuff. So we have a couple in-house that are more of our senior devs, and then we outsource a lot of our other entry-level type software engineering positions.
Thank you, Austin. Our next question is from Mudassir Mahmood. The question is, you guys discussed about good culture at OC. How was the remote work experience during the pandemic? Maybe Haley, would you like to respond to this one?
Yeah, absolutely. I will say for the majority of my career, I have been sort of in COVID, post-COVID work environment. At the plant was different. We were home, working from home for a few months straight, and then coming in when it was deemed safe and on different schedules. Now the roles have a lot more flexibility. So for example, today I am working from home. But I'll come into the office once every few weeks, just depending on what your manager and your team sort of sets up as a precedent for goals and expectations. But it's definitely, I mean, I've been working virtually for a while now, so I'm pretty used to it. But working full time at a plant to working virtually was definitely just a huge shift in how I thought, how I focused, how I scheduled meetings and other things with people from the plant. Now it's different since I am at corporate, but the flexibility is just wonderful. I really appreciate it, and I think the managers at OC have done a really good job of making sure everyone's accommodated. So.
Thank you, Haley. Louis, you're working in one of our manufacturing locations. How was your work experience during the pandemic? Did you get the opportunity to work from home?
Yeah. So it was in the initial phases, we did work from home. If your work allowed you to work from home, right? We do have employees that still were coming in during the pandemic and making product, right? And so being in HR, we felt like we had to be here for them, and they still have concerns and daily needs that they have. So we were still coming in to the office pretty regularly, right? So flexible schedule depending on your leader, but since June of last year, we've been full time in the office, working with where our employees are. So it's been different depending on where you are, but we have done a lot of work to make sure that we're keeping our employees safe. So our COVID protocols are there in place from our COVID management team, and they've done a great job of making sure that employees feel comfortable and safe when they come to work every day.
Thank you, Louis. Our next question is from Brianna, and she has asked, what is the team environment like at OC? It's open. Anybody wants to chime in for this one?
Yeah, just add you have to be a team player. So there's not many projects where you work solo across OC. I mean, every single day I'm working with. Just before this meeting, I had a call with somebody from supply chain, somebody with customer service, somebody from sales to figure out a customer issue, and we all work together. Whether it be within your departments, whether it be in other projects. I mean, Taylor, I haven't met you yet, but I'm working with you on another initiative as we get involved in some of our communities in Toledo, and then helping with our racial equality and inclusion efforts in Toledo. And so, there's many different things that you're going to be working with a lot of different people. So at OC, it's constantly a lot of meetings with other people and working hand in hand together.
Thank you, Austin. For you, Taylor, did you see team environment culture while you were interning with us? It was for a short period of time, 10 weeks. Anything you have to say about that while working on your own project?
Yeah, so with my inclusion and diversity team, we're a small team, but we're small but mighty, and we're very close. And I only had one manager technically, but I called them all my managers because everybody directly contributed to my success. And they were all helping me develop as a HR person and down the line. And being able, with the inclusion and diversity team, it's a corporate function. So you're able to talk to different functions to maybe push some initiatives or get some processes or some things up and going. So be able to work with the different people in the different areas is also different, fascinating, learning what the different people do and how they contributed to Owens Corning as a whole. I really enjoyed the environment, and yeah, especially the inclusion diversity team, I really loved them.
Thank you, Taylor. Our next question is from Sigam, I hope I said it right. Are full-time hired from interns only at OC. So internship helps us build our talent pipeline for our development programs. We do convert our interns to full-time opportunities, but we do hire through our career fairs, events, from our requisitions. Please feel free to go to our OC career page and apply for the positions. We do hire from other forums as well. It's not just the internship that we focus on. And our next question is from Greg. The question is, can someone who starts off in the operations field see themselves grow or move into another area, for example, sales? With my experience in OC, which is like short 6 months, I have seen development program professionals moving across the programs depending on their interest, but it also depends on their business need. So that's there. Anyone else who have seen in their experience, if somebody has converted from one development program to another? Lois, did you see that, you being in HR, in case you have any experience of that sort, where you have seen somebody from another program? I know we have one HRDP professional who was from supply chain. Scott, so he graduated from supply chain development program, but he had interest in HR field, and it was the right place, right time kind of a thing for him, and he got converted into HRDP. Louis?
Yeah, I haven't seen any outside of that example, anyone from being in a program and then going into a different program since I've been here. But once you're graduated from the program, there are definitely a lot of opportunities to move cross-functionally into another area, right? We definitely, I think Owens Corning promotes that environment, right? If you want to see what a career is like in operations or in sales or in supply chain, I think, having those conversations with your leader, making that known that that's something is of interest to you, I think they're more than willing to give you that opportunity to go out and explore that path, to see if that's a good fit for you. So I have seen that. I've seen those moves a lot more than from one development program into another.
Thank you, Louis.
I was just going to add here real quick, just because it happens a lot in IT. So, like Louis was just saying, development program, I haven't seen that a ton in the 8-9 years I've been with OC, but I have seen it plenty. I've seen IS people jump to HR, to supply chain. I've seen supply chain salespeople jump to IS. I mean, on my team alone, I think there's only, out of the 11 people on my team, only 3 or 4 of us actually have IS or computer science backgrounds. A lot of people internally have just moved to our team based on, they found it as a good fit. So it happens a lot within OC. If you find an interest in an area, I mean, try and match it up to your strengths, and then how we can make you enjoy your work. Not going to stick you somewhere that you're not going to like.
Thank you, Austin. I think Vida sir has asked another question that's more related to international students. So we can definitely share more information with us offline. You can send your email to Brandon maybe, and I can connect with you and see what details we could give you about this process. And one last question, it would be a quick, short, last question for everybody. How have your relationship with your leaders, mentors, and peers helped navigate your career at Owens Corning? It's an open-ended, anybody can chime in.
I can start. Right now, being in my 3rd and final year of the Finance and Accounting Leadership Program, I'm having lots of conversations with my FALP manager. Currently, we're working through creating a development plan that will help set me up for success when it comes time to job hunt next spring, summer. So we're working on getting me connected with people who have roles that I'm currently interested in, taking a deep dive into my likes and dislikes. And I think just having his leadership and his expertise on the area, since he's been with OC for I believe 10 years now, it's just been super helpful when developing my development plan and figuring out what my next move is and who I need to talk to in order to get a good sense of what roles would either suit me or be very value adding to me into roles I want to go after in the future. So it's been a really great experience so far.
Thank you, Haley.
Just going to add as well. I mean, it's everything. I mean, you're coming out of college, you know, you think you know what you're doing, but I got to be honest with you guys, you probably won't. You're going to come in and you're going to think, hey, this is exactly what I want. Once you jump into a role and realize, hey, maybe this isn't exactly what I wanted, but this is the parts of the role I like. Having those mentors, having those leadership that you can sit down and kind of map out, saying, you know, what are the experiences I'm looking to get out of the next 3 to 5 years? What are the things I'm trying to do? And then having multiple different people to bounce it off of. You know, like I said, I've been with OC a little bit more here, so I've been with them for about 8-9 years, and with that I've had about 3 or 4 different role changes, and every time I have a role change, I've got 3 people that I go to and I bounce ideas off of them because I want to hear exactly what they have to say, and they're thinking outside the box, that things that I'm just not thinking about. So having those mentors, having those leadership people being close to you and being able to provide those insights, and not just one but multiple, is very big for your career, especially early on.
Thank you, Austin. Thank you, everyone, for your time today. A big shout out to all our panelists for taking time out of their busy schedule to be here with us today. Thank you so much. So in case you have any questions, feel free to share it with Brandon after the session. We'll try to respond to your questions at the earliest. Feel free to connect with us over LinkedIn. It's really good forum to connect and network. In case you have any questions, you can message us on LinkedIn directly. And thank you, everyone, and have a good rest of your day.